I just thought of a couple new questions, even just looking at the credits in detail, but I'm going to save that for a second. Before I bring our co-directors up to the stage, I just want to upfront ask you guys for your assistance. We're in the middle of summer. Summer is blockbuster season, and this movie is expanding up against, like, I think it's an Independence Day sequel or something like that. I'm not so sure about what that is. But it's a time where there's giant titans of movies that have huge marketing and advertising budgets. And this is a smaller film, doesn't have that kind of budget, and what it relies upon is word of mouth and social media. So I'm asking you if you like this film, and if you didn't like this film, what is going on? What is wrong with you? To tell people how special this is. This in no rational world should this movie exist and be as thought-provoking and heartfelt and weird as it is, and be going out on some 2,000 screens this weekend. But we need your help to promote this, so tell your friends all over the land that something awesome is coming their way, and then don't tell them anything else. Tell your mom, tell your grandma, tell your 5-year-old niece. It's time to see Swiss Army Man. And with that, I'm going to bring out the Daniels, and we're going to ask lots of questions and get lots of answers. Congrats, gentlemen. Film of the year.
Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking around for the Q&A.
I hope you're okay. So I'm going to work backwards. I had a couple of thoughts in my head, and then I just watched the credits. And so two things popped out that I hadn't really noticed before because I wasn't paying attention. I guess obviously they're right there. There's one of the best technical credits in the film, which is the fartiste. Is that in reference to the French turn of the century fartiste? And if so, tell me more about prepping the fartiste and his role in this movie, and if I'm mispronouncing that word.
Oh yeah, who was credited as the fartist?
Fartist, it's fartist. I was being pretentious, wasn't
Brent
I?
or...
Right, yeah.
I think our sound designer requested that be added to the credits because he was so proud specifically of like the work he had done on the gas.
Yeah, but the French fartist that you're talking about was he was sort of a famous performer who would go on stage, and he, for some reason, had an ability to. He had a lot of control over his, I guess, the tone and the pitch and the length of his farts. And so he would just I guess.
Are you making this up?
No,
It's for real.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, sort of a vaudeville performer.
Exactly. Very much so. And I think he just happened to be born at the right time in the right place to be able to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't think that would work these days, but yeah. So our fartiste was more. He was just a sound designer who he recorded farts. He found farts. He recreated farts. He mixed them. It was more of it's like the more 2016 version of it. He has no control over his butthole. So, but yeah, it was really bizarre because we somehow got the every year at Sundance they give a couple films a Dolby Atmos grant, and after watching our movie they unanimously decided this was one of them that would get extra money to get an Atmos mix, and so we had an Academy Award nominated mixer come in and help us mix this movie, and he had his name is Bo Borders. He did the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Insane. He had this massive mixing board, and for certain scenes, a good chunk of them were just fart tracks. So he had 20 fart tracks.
Yeah, it was fart 1 through 16.
Yeah, it's pretty
tracks.
This whole, I mean, that's like a microcosm of what making this film was like. It was like a bizarre performance art piece where we were forced to every day try to convince new people to join our strange passion project, even though we were all we're grown adults talking about how to mix a fart properly and getting into fights about it too. It's really bizarre. All to serve the purpose of making sure that we created something personal and something that felt true, which is crazy to say, but I hope you guys felt a little bit of that.
For sure. Well, you mentioned people joining your team. I mean, obviously, two of the most important people to have are your two male leads in this film, and they've both been taking really fantastic, adventurous projects. So it's actually no surprise to see them up on screen. A couple questions related to that. Do you know they must have a special agent relationship that knows that this is right. Was it immediate for them? Did they just lock, click, we're in all the way, chips into the center of the table, this is our movie and we're going to own it? Or was there some sort of, any kind of resistance or questions?
Yeah, they both were creatively super gung-ho, which was like the biggest compliment, and also like a terrifying responsibility once we realized, like, oh my God, Paul Dano said yes. Like that's a crazy career to be a part of, for me. And Radcliffe was the same way. Like once each of them read the script, we like Skyped with them, and they were just immediately just excited about the creative and had questions about that. But neither of them ever like asked like if we would make them do less dumb stuff. Like they were both like so gung ho. Like I'll put that in my mouth. I'll fall down that hill. They were so like fearless.
Well, one of the other things that I'm like really thunderstruck by in this movie is just the visual landscape, especially when they're kind of settled in and building their strange little environment. Is that all out of your brains, or do you have like a production design, art design co-collaborator that you work with to get something so organic yet precise?
Yeah, we do have a team of production design folks who like we gave a pretty loose brief to. I think we just kind of set the rules of the movie and kind of asked them to build things that Hank would build, and make sure that it felt like he could have built them too. Like we'd be like, don't make it too nice. Like it shouldn't look like something that took 2 weeks to carve.
I think our filmmaking process is very, very reactive and very exploratory. Like we plan things out to a T, but then we're always willing to let things kind of come and go, depending on whatever feels like whatever feels right. I think during one of our earlier location scouts, we saw we're in these beautiful redwood forests, and they're just like stunning to be in. And we just saw like a half-drunken 2-liter bottle of crushed soda. It's just like an orange soda just sitting on a beautiful redwood log, and we're
like in the nook of a tree.
Yeah, and we're like, that's so shitty. Humans are the worst. We just like leave trash everywhere, even these beautiful places. And we saw that. It was just a beautiful, strange.
Although maybe the guy was going to come back and drink that crush.
Right, probably. Yeah. But that like we already were thinking about putting a little bit of trash in the woods for our characters to play with. But once we saw that, and we saw a lot of other versions of that, we realized, not only is that like going to be helpful for our characters to be able to work with, but also I think it's like it kind of gels with the themes of the film, like taking the trash of society and reconstituting into something beautiful and elegant. And so we just threw that our production designer and let them go crazy, and they had such a great time, and they were actually building most of it in the woods as we were shooting. It was kind of a very organic process.
And they were like pretty collaborative too, so like everyone would build things, and we would just kind of like grab our favorites and dress the set. So like our girlfriends came to set and like built props one day. Like they just went over and hung out with the art team, and were like, hey, here's all the garbage, like make something. And those props are in there. There was one guy in particular, Calder Greenwood, who like just sat by the art truck and just built like all the miniatures in the cave, like all those little figures made out of very simplistic materials. And he was like kind of the MVP of little garbage props. And he's actually a street artist on the side, and he makes artwork out of cardboard and puts it around Los Angeles, and it's like becoming like more known now, like, which is so coincidental that like we got to steal him.
Right that way. So you have a lot of Twitter followers?
Yeah. Anyway, not yet. Okay. Follow Calder. I don't know if he has a Twitter.
And don't judge me for this, but I've got twin 5-year-old girls, and because they
I'm
don't.
not gonna judge you. That's awesome.
No, it's not. There's a judgmental part here coming, and I'm pressing it. They don't know what a boner is yet, and so I thought it was safe to show them the "Turned Down for What" video, and it's like their favorite 3 minutes of film in the universe, and that's the judgment part. So anyway, let's just get past that. So when that crests past 500 million views, is that an unlock for you guys? I mean, I'm trying to imagine the financing of this film, was that before or after? When does somebody give you all the money that you need to make this?
Yeah, it definitely helped that we could say like, here's a weird thing we made and people seem to like it. We directed the Turn Down for What music video, which is him humping things until they explode, for those that you don't know.
It's child safe too.
Yeah.
It's surprising how often kids love that video, because like you're not the only parent who sent us a video of their kid dancing along with the video. But I think there's something like very pure about it, despite the fact that some of it might feel like perverse. I think it's about freedom, and like so kids see that and like, oh my God, adults just screwing around, like that's beautiful. I want to do that. I was at a wedding recently, and there were kids there, and that song came on, and my mom like forced me into the circle, and I
That's such a mom move.
I know, right? So I obviously danced around and humped things at the wedding, and
Apparently he
afterwards
humped his mom.
we're a weird family, but afterwards, all the kids came up to me and wanted to like take pictures with me because they just thought it was so funny to see a grown man just act like an unhinged child. So it's not you're not the only one.
I'm not the only bad parent
Exactly.
in the world. I know that.
Exactly.
I know that for a fact.
But it did help with financing, yeah. But it was not anywhere close to 500 million then. It was kind of that mixed with we got to go through the Sundance Labs, so we could be like, here's like a silly thing that YouTube likes, and then here's like an institution that gave us a vote of confidence that that's not YouTube.
And even then, it was still hard to find money. So it was
Yeah,
like,
it's still hard.
this was like definitely a project that slowly found its supporters just because of what it was. The moths came to the flame. The ones who were into this kind of thing.
That's kind of a funny analogy, moths coming to the flame, because I think they just die, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
don't use,
All
if
of
you're
our
seeking more financiers, don't use the moth flame analogy.
No, yeah, they all went under. Yeah, after this movie. That's true.
They had a great time.
One more question, and I'm going to open up to the crowd. Something that is probably my favorite soundtrack of the year also is the Manchester Orchestra tracks in this. They're on their own, they're amazing, and then just the integration of this film is so beautiful. It's clear that this there must be a longer collaboration. This isn't something that just like, oh, we're done with the movie, now let's score it. So can you talk a little bit about your relationship with them and how that came to be in the creative process of putting this synthesis together?
Yeah, it was a whole project unto itself, the soundtrack. We knew we wanted to write music before we shot so that Paul and Daniel could sing in a number of key scenes. And we were really like unsure of how to go about hiring a composer or who to hire. But we had made a music video with those guys years ago and loved them as people. And the more we kind of like thought about it, we're like, we're going to be working so intimately. I just want to make sure that I like the people that we're working with. So like we were like, let's just reach out to Andy and see what he says and ask him to like for free, like just come up with some spitball melodies. And we were like, look, we'll do like a low commitment thing. And then he read the screenplay. And then the next day wrote us this gushing email and was like, I wrote a song, here it is, let me know what you think, here's the lyrics, and he attached the lyrics, and it's the song that you guys heard in the credits, that's like the central theme of the movie.
That's like the exact recording he sent over less than 24 hours after we sent him the script.
Yeah, and we were
yeah.
just like kind of dumbfounded, and he and Robert McDowell kind of like, they went above and beyond and pushed real hard to not just write the songs, but like score the film because they were movie lovers. So they wrote like 5 or 6 songs before we shot. They were tweaking them during the shoot, and then during post-production, they had to write 10 more songs, and then they flew out and were part of the whole mix of the whole movie. They were kind of there to help us make sure the music sounded right through that whole process, which they also got a kick out of because like a soundtrack is stereo, like that's the most it almost ever goes to, and so
CD, yeah.
so they got to really, they were having fun because they were mixing it with 40 speakers instead of 2,
Yeah, it was pretty great. We kind of put them in a really hard box. We're like, we want the whole score to come from our actors. and that's it. So nothing but voices and percussion and sticks and things that you can find in the woods. And they kind of took to that challenge and just went above and beyond, and they created a score that's like really intimate and also like massive. So I'm excited for you guys to all go home because it's going to get stuck in your head. You're going to go listen to it on Spotify, and it's going to be great. That's what we.
No, don't listen to it on Spotify. Be an old
Oh,
man like me and transact with that song.
Buy it.
You can listen to it on Spotify too.
And it'll be on vinyl.
Yeah,
like,
give Manchester Orchestra your 4 cents as a
There we
collective
go.
audience. But
Yeah.
anyway, don't get me started on Spotify. But enough about Spotify. Is there any questions out there in the audience? I bet there is. Right here, Bob.
So more about the music. What was it like to go to like Universal or John Williams and whoever and try to get the rights to the Jurassic Park theme?
Did everybody hear that in the back? All right.
Yeah, you projected very well.
I've done this before.
I'll repeat the non-projected questions.
It was terrifying because we're huge fans of his. Obviously, that's why we wrote him into our movie. And kind of all it boiled down to was we had a music supervisor who kind of like was the middleman, and she had us write a letter to John
Mr.
Williams,
Williams,
saying
yeah.
like, "Dear John Williams, we're both named Daniel and we love the Jurassic Park theme song." And then we just tried to kind of thematically explain how important the song was in the film, and that it was going to be like, different. Like there were no dinosaurs in our movie. Like this is like used to explain to an amnesiac what it feels like to like remember home. Like it's kind of like a hopeful, beautiful moment. And we already had the recording that Andy had made with Rob, and so we sent that along too. And we're like, here's what it's going to sound like. And then
And the crazy thing is he's never actually let anyone license any of his score before. I think this is.
Did you guys leave out the farting corpse bit, or?
I think we did leave it out, and then we kept like asking, people like, is that bad? Like, are we tricking him? And they're like, we'll start the conversation here, at least. And but the word we got back like a month later was that like John Williams has given you permission for this fee as long as it's not an NC-17 movie. So we were like, okay, I think we're in the clear. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that Raccoon for a Dream scene.
Yeah.
Fine.
But we were like in the middle of pre-production, like less than a week out from shooting, and so we were like ready to have to rewrite the script if something fell through. And I remember I was in my hotel room and I just heard like the Jurassic Park theme song from outside my door, and then like everyone was like knocking on my door waiting to like announce.
It was me and the producer John, and we had like a jam box, and we were just like, da, da, da.
It was like, we got the song! John Williams said yes! It was like such a small victory, and we needed it at the time too, because we were so stressed out. It was great, and I can't imagine a different piece for this film, so it was perfect. I hope John Williams sees it someday.
Yeah,
Really cool.
He's gonna love it. He's gonna love it. All right, another question. I got right here in the center.
So your movie, I love how absurd your movie is. In the writing process, was there anything that you guys just said that's too ridiculous, we can't go there?
Yeah, like all the time, surprisingly, because we come from like music videos and short films, so we had this like backlog of silly ideas that we kept kind of testing out in the movie, and honestly, we spent more time in the writing process trying to ground it and like weed out the crazy ideas that like were doing the story a disservice than we did coming up with new crazy ideas,
And we realized early on that like the best stuff that was fitting in with everything was just whatever felt emotionally right. Like all of his powers kind of come from sort of like something real. Like, those are all things that your body actually does, just exaggerated, and they're things that like are really embarrassing and strange, and we're not okay with it most of the time. But here they are, like amplified and also used as a way of surviving, a necessary thing. Because we had a lot of other like really crazy ideas that just were fun but didn't actually make sense for what we were trying to do. So
There was a draft with talking wolves,
Oh, yeah.
like where where like Hank's using the bathroom and they've been running from wolves instead of bears in this draft, and then the wolf like peers out from behind a bush and is like, you have to tell him, and then like disappears into the darkness. We were like, okay, that's too far. Yeah, and then other movie, and then so many weird powers, you know, like that we came up with for Manny that like we were like, okay, we're gonna save these for later. We wanted the movie to also kind of skirt this line of like, it's crazy, but you're allowed to maybe believe, you know, like we want to make sure that like people the whole time could be like, this is crazy, but maybe this is happening, like maybe he actually has a friend that's doing this. And so like the laws of physics, you know, we had to kind of like dance a line of like how much can you stick in his mouth, you know, before it's like you couldn't stick that in a corpse, you know. That was a line. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if all the laws of physics are being obeyed in 100%, so you might not have hit that.
No, we have a lot of scientists.
Okay, all right. If you guys had a lot of scientists, I think it's probably cool.
The same guys
I'm
who did
wrong.
Interstellar.
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to bring it down.
Went to MIT to research the opening sequence.
You mentioned the bear, and that was something I noticed here for the first time watching the credits, that it's a real bear. So kudos for using a real, live, dangerous animal in your movie. And can you talk about that? I'm assuming, well, I don't know if I should assume that all the actors were safe during the shooting of the bear scene. Maybe there's some movie magic in there. Tell us about the bear.
No one got hurt. The bear was named Tag. It was like a 1-year-old grizzly, like teenager bear who loved marshmallows and ice cream sandwiches. To be fair though, one of the bear trainers like was like on crutches and had like something on his leg, and he claims he fell and that it wasn't a bear that bit him. But we kept being like, did he get hurt while prepping this movie? But yeah, it was very scary, but like a very safe set where like everybody was cleared off and
Yeah, we didn't think we would be able to afford it because it's kind of crazy to bring a real bear onto your set and try to film all that stuff, you know, because we tried all the other outlets. We're like, oh, what if we got like an animatronic bear suit that like someone could wear, and we would like maybe do a couple of visual effects to it, but in the end, like nothing panned out. Like the one guy who has the bear suit that we wanted to get on this, we sent him the
and
script.
his suit wasn't even that good.
It wasn't that good.
It was a pretty shitty
like,
suit.
it's good
like
enough.
$40,000.
We'll fix it in post. It'll work. It's better than a real bear. A real bear will be like a nightmare. And the guy like we sent him the script, and he came back to us like, I think I'm gonna stick to commercials. I didn't like the poop stuff. And then he just said, yeah. And he just said no. And we're like, okay.
He was creatively not into it.
We're gonna prove you wrong.
But it worked out because it was.
It was so much better to have a real bear on set. It was so scary, but also really fun. We had like electric wire all around with the camera, and a bunch of people just screaming the whole time. It was like pretty terrifying.
The bear trainers would be like, tag, no, tag, tag! For like 10 minutes straight,
Even
shouting.
when they're congratulating the bear, it's all screams.
Good, tag, tag, good!
Exactly, just because the bear won't like understand it unless it's in yelling. It was like really stressful.
And then they would yell at each other too. They're like, Rick, back up, tag! It was so funny because everybody else was silent and we're like terrified, and all these grown men are shouting at each other.
But yeah, the way we shot it was we shot everything twice, which was like a pain in the ass. We had the bear go through everything. Bear went into the thing. Then our actors came out, did everything. Then they went back to their trailers.
And then we would move the camera and do the next scene. Yeah.
Because they would never let us have a bear next to Harry Potter.
Good instinct for that. All right, more questions? I got one right here.
Yeah. Do you guys remember what the log line you used to pitch this was?
Logline, or is there an elevator pitch too? What do you got? What's encapsulate this in 140 characters to an executive?
Yeah, it was admittedly hard. I mean, we had one, but I don't think it was very useful. Because we would say like a lonely man stranded in the wilderness discovers a corpse and puppeteers it to be his friend, and together they go on a journey to get home. And also it's a musical.
I know.
And like, you know, no one signed up based on that, but.
I think the fun thing we would do is we had the opening song roughed in, like a rough version of it that the band created, and so we'd put that song on, and we would just pitch the opening scene to whoever was, whatever billionaire we were sitting down with, for some reason that got people really excited. Just the strange, cognitive dissonance of the absurdity of the image and the triumphant beauty of the music, and I think for the right people, it just really got people excited. So having music is like a super crutch that we leaned on, and it was great.
Which once we had it, that was helpful, and then we had all sorts of other crutches too, like in music videos we make treatments that are just like a bunch of imagery and then a paragraph here and there kind of breaking down what will happen. So we did that for the whole film and had like a 25-page like just book of pretty pictures, which was like, very digestible for people to be like, oh wow, like this is not confusing at all, and then they could go back and try to like dig through the script, which was more of an ordeal.
Did you like dance around the farting, or did you just?
Oh no, yeah. I guess my logline I gave you didn't have farts in there. That was more of our Sundance logline, what I gave you. But when we pitched it, we would always be pretty upfront about it. That
because that's the thing that like Paul Dano loves to say now is like when we pitched it back then, it was like our goal was to make a movie that started with a fart that made you laugh and ended with a fart that made you cry, and like that was something that people like.
And a lot of farts in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that was kind of necessary intermediary farts to get you there.
Yeah, it was fun to get excited about that and be like, if we can make anyone cry from a fart, like that'll be a cinematic like achievement. Like that'll be such a success. Like what a cool challenge, to try to like break down what farts mean and then like heart-wrenching fart.
Reinterpret it for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The fart made my mom cry, which was like, that was my ultimate goal. I was so happy.
Just out of a curiosity, show of hands in the audience, did a fart make you cry tonight?
Or even like a cheer.
One in the back, one in the back, three.
You're
not going to get everybody. You got 3% of this audience, so that's I'm going to say that's
crazy.
That's good.
That's
good job,
way
guys.
more than your average fart.
Any more questions about? Oh, we do have a question in the back. There by the aisle.
So, other than don't be afraid to fart in fart in front of strangers, what kind of message do you hope your viewers take away from this movie?
Yeah, I think.
Did you take anything away besides that, or?
You can find hope in the strangest places.
Amen.
Absolutely, yeah. Or you can find love in strange places was something we spent a lot of time talking about, because there's so many. Rom-coms where unlikely people fall in love, but they're both gorgeous, and it's like, oh, what a coincidence that this baseball player fell in love with a girl who writes for a magazine. And we thought it was fun to go like, we're gonna find love in an unlikely place, like if you can believe in a love story between like a man and a corpse, like then you can kind of go out in the world and like accept any love story, and just be like, sure, you love that dog, like.
Yeah, it definitely, this film for us, just the process of making it bred like a very strange kind of empathy where we were constantly looking at things that like we have some preconceived judgments for and asking ourselves why did I have that knee-jerk reaction, and I think that this film is us just trying to do that with anything and everything, like we didn't want this film to be a specific genre, we didn't want it to be a specific relationship, we didn't want anyone to be able to like label it, because it was so much more fun for you guys to kind of have to create that label yourselves. And so hopefully, all that is to say, like hopefully everyone comes out of this movie with something slightly different, like a different interpretation, a different thing that is meaningful. But what you said is one of our favorite ones. So hope that answers your question.
I feel like there's so many, that you can themes, ideas that are touched upon. I almost feel like there should be a classroom and we could go one by one. It's like, what did you learn from Swiss Army Man? But I don't know if that's appropriate or not. Well, if we run out of questions, I'm going to pull that out. That's like what we call a back pocket idea, which is probably a bad one. Right there on the aisle.
Among the many memorable moments, I think a lot of people will remember the very last line of "What the fuck." Were there any other options or any other ways you wanted to end it?
Alternate endings. Were there any other ideas for wrapping up the
or alternate lines, right?
Or lines,
Like, because the last line is "What the fuck."
Right.
I think there's something really like, I think the whole ending is us like being so terrified of what people were going to say when they saw this movie, and we basically built an audience, and
There's like a little Greek chorus of people.
yeah, and we wanted to just kind of like just examine, okay, what would my dad say about this movie? What is the authority, the cop or whatever, but what is the normal rule going to think about this movie? And
What, with like a child?
yeah, exactly. And so the what the fuck just felt like a really good way to end it, because I think to me that's what we would say, and like, but at the same time she's like oddly moved by the whole ordeal. So it's like a what the fuck, but through like almost on the brink of acceptance. And I think for some reason that felt really...
She's having her Jurassic Park moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we didn't want her to be completely won over, because that would have been like too easy. But at the same time, somewhere in between, I think that's where we want people to be left, so that the next day or week after watching this movie, your life would just dictate which way you felt, whether you hated the movie or whether you really were won over by it. But like I think at the very end, we just wanted to be somewhere. It's like quantum physics. You're both a particle and a wave at the same time, and like some interaction with the real world will place you firmly on one side. And so, what the fuck just made sense for us.
There was one other line that it wasn't. I think we never considered it happening before Sarah's line, but the cop used to say, "That body is farting." That was like, it was just like him staring past camera going, "That body is farting."
But actually, now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Like, that's what every single headline was. It was just like straightforward. This is a movie about a farting corpse. Like, they would like,
Right.
like very like, they didn't give any sort of comment on it. They just said exactly what it was, and everyone else had to like deal with it. So yeah, it's kind of funny that we cut it in the end because it was distracting, but it resonated with us for some reason.
I do like at the ending, within just the course of 60 seconds, you get this really beautiful capsule of the father-son relationship, of the real love that's there, and then obviously the turn is, these people just saw it, spoiler, but it's like, fucking not again, you dumbass. It's just sort of like, but in really tight time frame, I think there's a crazy resonance built into that interaction.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we spent a long time, like there were countless drafts where people talked a lot more in the last scene, and it always felt like, the more words were doing a disservice to what we were trying to get at, and so yeah, it was really scary trying to figure out this dad story, and I am like uniquely proud when I hear people like laugh at that moment where the dad nods at Hank, because that's kind of like all we get. That's what we settled on, was just a nod, but it seems to like still resonate with folks, which and me too. Like that's one of the moments I'm always like, oh, his dad sees it. He sees it. He's like, yes, son, I see it. Cool. Anyway,
Right here.
Was there any point in which the guy was actually hallucinating the whole thing and the movie closes out with he's hanged himself?
If you didn't hear that in the back, was there any point in which that sort of ending sequence in your mind or in any draft where that's a hallucination and he's actually, it's a much more dark ending? But
right? No, there wasn't. There were versions where he didn't hang himself at all.
There was a version where we made fun of people for thinking that was going to happen in the movie. Like at one point, like near the end, Hank is like, maybe I'm just like dead the whole time and I'm like still hanging or whatever. But then like it quickly just like, I forget exactly what the line was, but at one point he like looks at the camera and laughs at you. But it's just like, like we said, we had a lot of bad ideas that we
Yeah, we should quit pitching all our bad ideas after people watch our movie.
I know, right? This is really ruining it for them. But yeah, I think we read that short story, the occurrence of Owl Creek in high school or whatever. So it was very much like in the back of our heads the whole time, and we knew we wanted to avoid that, even though that's what most people would think was going to be the conclusion to the film.
But I do think we did want to give people permission to think he was crazy. Like we didn't want the movie to end like 100% on Hank's side. Like any reaction you have is kind of great in our minds, and like all movies are pretend. So, and I think there's something kind of funny about like people having to wrestle with whether or not Manny was real or not, but also you're wrestling with like, you know, as a silly movie that Darren Radcliffe was playing pretend in. You know, like that kind of meta narrative was really interesting to us. I don't know if those two things are connected, but.
All right, we have time for one more question. Who's got the be-all, end-all capper question of the night? Or maybe I did it too late and there's no more questions in the entire room. That can't possibly be true. You, sir, front row, saving the day.
Okay, so when Paul Dano gets back to land and checks his phone, the date on the phone is Tuesday, July 13th. I was born on Tuesday, July 13th.
Oh,
So I had to
happy
ask,
birthday.
how did you choose that date? And also, how did Shane Carruth end up in the film?
Yeah. The date was an accident. I think.
No, it was Shane Carruth's idea, actually.
The date?
Yeah.
He crunched some numbers.
Yeah.
He was one of the scientists
Yeah.
who kept us in check. I think it's so weird when you're making a movie like that. Like, it's very stressful knowing that someone's gonna look at the clock on the phone, and like, and you need to make sure that time passes and that the dates are accurate, and like. But yeah, we just kind of picked it. We were shooting in the summer. We were shooting in July, so we just set it in July.
It just kind of made sense.
We shot it last July.
Yeah, exactly, 1 year ago.
And then Shane was, he just showed up to set. He was,
Literally on the first day of shooting, he was like, he showed, and we had never shot a feature film before, and he's done 2 amazing ones. And he showed up and was like, oh, I wanted to watch you guys work. And we're like, are you kidding me?
he didn't tell us that though on the first day.
Until later, yeah.
Yeah, because that would have terrified me. I would have been like, go home, you're uninvited. But he was working on raising money for his new movie, and like our producer Lawrence Ingley works a lot with Shane. So like he was hanging out, and we needed someone to play that role of the coroner.
And he was around.
And he was around, so I think our other producer Jonathan was like, hey, what if we just ask Shane to do it? He's pretty good at acting. For those of you that don't know, Shane Carruth made the movies Primer and Upstream Color. He's like a incredible writer, director, composer, visual effects man, actor.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
Scientist, scientific and
Yeah,
consultant.
totally.
Well,
He was
he was an engineer at one point before he
Yeah.
became a filmmaker. He's crazy, in the best way, and it was bizarre that he was hanging around set with us because we're a bunch of nobodies. Like it was cool to have him just do a cameo, and every now and then people recognize him, so that's pretty fun. All right, last question. That was
Awesome.
all right.
Well, thank you guys
Thank
so
you guys
much.
so much.
Remember what I said at the beginning of the evening. Use some hashtags, tag some friends, send some notes. Movie's expanding out into what, sort of rounds to every theater in America on
Yeah.
Friday. So let's spread the joy.
Thanks. Guys.